Welcome to the Love Sessions. I'm Nori and I am here with the amazing Lily. Hi, Lil.
Hello, Nori. You are amazing as well. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. So this is our Sweet 16 Love Sessions
Wow.
where we bring love back to you.
Perfect. I love that.
So, you know what I've been thinking about communication. I've been thinking about communication in relationships. I've been doing a lot of writing, and that makes me look at my own communication. But then, I just had some experiences that made me realize that, I always knew it, but it was brought to mind again that, we all communicate so differently, and it seems like men and women communicate differently, not to make a big dividing line, but I think it's true. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. I think it's been proven. Hasn't there been like a whole bunch of scientific studies about the different communication styles of men and women?
I was trying not to, add to the separateness, but yes.
Oh, okay. Wait, back it up. But yeah, and even you're right. Even without bringing the genders into it, we all communicate differently. That's absolutely true. Like you and I communicate totally differently, and yet it flows together really well.
Right.
So yeah, that's absolutely true. And communication, I was going to say when you went there and you brought up the big C word, I was like, oh, okay, so Sweet 16 is not going to be all light, huh?
That's true. Communication is not really ever light, right?
That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. But as the love sessions are all about love, bringing it back to you and relationships and all of that. There is no relationship without communication. There just isn't.
Now that's the truth. Mm-hmm. That's the truth. And it's interesting if you're with somebody who doesn't really communicate with words, do you think that you're accurately, interpreting their actions so that you really understand what they're communicating? Or, is there a gray area there that could cause some confusion?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There's so much room for misinterpretation and just misunderstanding with communications with different styles, and if someone uses a lot of words and if someone doesn't use a lot of words.
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes someone just assumes that you understand what they're saying because they think you guys have this great connection. Right. And then you realize, no, it just completely went somewhere else. So there's so much to it.
I was on this interview, and the host and I got off topic and started talking about relationships, and he said, well, women, remember everything, and they constantly bring it up, and I was like, so are they bringing it up just to constantly bring it up, or is there something that's unresolved? Because I don't think people just bring things up for no reason. They don't communicate. Is it that they're trying to communicate and it's, not feeling satisfied, or, I don't know.
Well, unresolved, that's a good word. Mm-hmm. That's a really good word. Yeah, I think if something keeps coming back up, then something is definitely unresolved there somewhere.
Right.
On one side or the other side, or resolved in a way that is not comfortable or acceptable to them. So, because why would that's why it keeps coming back up. That's why it keeps showing up to be handled, be taken care of.
Right. If it keeps looping, it's calling our attention to it.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I know I kind of changed the subject with that conversation by saying, well, don't we all really just want to be understood?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can think of relationships where I was with it, in a relationship with somebody who didn't use a lot of words, and even in texting, it would be like one or two word texts, and I'm supposed to interpret that, with the accurate meaning, and you can't.
No.
I mean, unless you're completely psychic and tied into each other that way, but that's not really what was happening. It's like I was misinterpreting, the two word texts.
Right. And I think unless a relationship has evolved to the point that you almost do communicate, psychically, like you just know what the other person means with one or two words. And it's possible to get there, absolutely. But unless you're there, it can be really challenging. And maybe one person thinks you're there, but the other one isn't. And so again, you got to go back to the communication. Like I'm not sure. I need I need more words.
Exactly.
Actually, that is one of my favorite lines from
like
a TV show that my husband and I watch, and I can't remember the name of it, but I just know that one character was explaining something to the other character, and he just looked at them and said, "I need more words." And I love it. I say it all the time now. I need more words.
That's so good. That's so good. And it's not that the previous words were not good enough. It's just that in order to reach the clarity, the illuminated understanding of what you're trying to say to me, I just need a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so weird because it shouldn't be that difficult when you think about it. Like if two people are having a conversation and one person doesn't understand and says so, you would think it shouldn't be that difficult for the person number one to kind of go back and maybe reword things or add more words or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes it hits that bump. It hits that kind of like defensiveness and just kind of like, oh, well, why don't you understand what I'm saying? And and there the communication has broken down.
Absolutely. And then so that's probably why things keep coming up, because if the communication breaks down and you go off on a contrast kind of situation where you're now feeling defensive, trying to get you to not be defensive, and it gets all muddied and messed up there, that can distract you from the fact that the initial message was, can you just say that another way? I didn't quite get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if it goes into conflict, then of course that initial needing of more words gets completely buried.
Yeah, because then it becomes something else, and it becomes it goes somewhere else. But it really originates with that not having a strong communication system between the two parties. Because saying I didn't understand that should be enough, and everyone should feel comfortable being able to say that. So many of us are, grow up not feeling comfortable enough to say, I didn't understand that. And so we walk away from conversations not really understanding, but we didn't want to like embarrass ourselves or, come across as stupid or whatever and say like, I didn't understand that. Can you explain it again? And then again, that opens the door for conflict and for contrast. Mm-hmm. Whereas just saying, I didn't quite understand that. Could you explain that to me again? And then the other person being okay with finding another way of stating their point. That's the rhythm of the communication. It's not the words that are being said.
The rhythm.
Exactly. It's that rhythm and the energy that's being exchanged. The, compassion and understanding and just the wanting to communicate. I think the desire to communicate really has to be present.
Boy, now that's really good. Because when you were saying, I didn't quite get it, I didn't understand, I was thinking, well, I like when people say that because it shows me that they're invested in the conversation, that they care about what we're talking about, to ask for more clarity. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Because you're a communicator. Right. And you're a listener. Communicators are listeners.
Mm-hmm. That's a
Yeah,
good point.
I know. I do that now, but I know it took me a long time to get to the point where I felt comfortable saying, I didn't understand that. Can you say that again? Like what? Now I have no problem, but
Right.
it took some time getting there, and I know that it comes from my desire in the conversation to have that communication
Right.
that
Right.
transcends the words.
Oh, absolutely. And maybe it's not a good time to re-explain what you said,
Right.
and having the freedom to say, you know what, can we just put this on hold for a few minutes? I have to do this.
Yes.
Then we'll come back to the conversation.
Yes.
Right?
That is so important. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Because
Wow.
sometimes like in anything, sometimes you just need to hit the pause button.
Right.
It's there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think the big or one of the big issues that comes around is when someone is just not communicating with you, which is
Yeah.
different from you not understanding what they're saying.
Right.
Right? Because if someone is
Right.
attempting to communicate with you and maybe it's not getting through, but they're making the attempt, then that the communication is happening, the flow is happening. You just haven't found the connection yet where the words make sense. But the energy of the relationship and the love and the intention is there. When someone is not communicating with you, then you know there's nothing there. There's nothing
Right.
there. It's kind of like, okay, that's the end of it. That's nothing I
Exactly.
can work with. I can't say I don't understand because you didn't say anything.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, and not communicating is a very powerful communication.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we
Exactly.
have to be careful to, to really mean that. I mean, if that's what you mean, that I'm no longer communicating, if you really do that, you better mean it, because people will interpret that as it should be interpreted.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I've absolutely had that happen to me. I'm I have no problem putting myself in timeout and putting relationships in timeout. You know me very
Yeah.
well, and sometimes I know, I can't deal with whatever's going on right now, just because I know that I haven't processed it within myself, and so maybe what might be said is not going to be the what I really intend to say. So I just need some space. I can't talk about this now. We'll talk
So
about it
good.
another time. Just later, and that might mean a couple of hours. It might mean a couple of months.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But if the other person just stops communicating, period,
Yeah.
with me, then I have nothing.
Right.
There's
Right. And then you make decisions.
right.
Is how does this feel for me? And then maybe you throw out a few test balloons, like, hey, I'm still here. You want to talk? And you get nothing. You get crickets. Then you're going to start making decisions based on that. Whereas if we are going to process something and the relationship is important to us, it's important to say, hey, listen, I need to really think about this. I need to be with this. I need to sit with this. And it's not that I'm not talking to you. It's just that I need some time.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that bridges, the gap, between the two people, and everybody understands, okay, this is really, it's still okay. We just need a little bit of time, and then we'll come back to it.
Exactly.
So
Absolutely.
important.
So important. And I like I said, it's happened to me. I've put that on the table in a situation where someone stopped communicating with me and things weren't going, you know, very well. And I did say I need some time. I need some space from this. This I'm really uncomfortable and I love
Yes.
you, but I need some time. And the other person completely shut down on me.
Right.
They
Right.
completely, social media nowadays, unfriend, block, you're gone. And I just thought, oh,
Okay, that happened.
then that's the end of that.
Right. Right. And
End of that. I got that
yeah.
communication loud and clear. Okay.
Boom. Right. The cellar door shutting.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
Or
So,
if you
yeah.
know that you're a person that shuts down and the relationship is important to you, because I've recently had somebody say that to me, that we're growing a new relationship, and the person said, if I'm in crisis, I go into hiding. I go into retreat mode. So I know. And so we set up, well, if that happens, I'm going to come to your door. Yes, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So I mean, that's not, I'm not saying that that's how it should happen for everyone, but that's how that happened in this particular relationship. So I know if the person goes, radio silence, and nothing really stimulates. It's not like there was contrast and we need space, but if suddenly the person goes radio silence and there's other things going on in his or her life, then I know, they told me that they retreat, that they go into hiding when something not great is happening for them. So it's okay for me to reach out.
Right. And that space of non-communication is actually a communication. It's actually
so good. That's a cry for help.
Yeah,
right, because I know.
Yeah, because you've already known been told in advance. Well, this happens. This. So you already know. That's already part of the communication.
Wow.
So it's not the communications. It's not about the words. Sure, the conversation with the actual words is really important, but communication works on so many other levels that have nothing to do with words, with spoken words or even written words. They're really just being open to accepting what the other person is giving you, and sometimes accepting that the other person needs a break from you. Because if you're on the receiving end of that, okay, that's a whole thing where you got to go back into your own self and look at your own relationship with yourself. Like, can I handle the fact that this person that I talk to every day has now said to me that they need a break from me? Oh gosh, now what do I do?
Right.
Back to your own communication with yourself, and how you tell yourself, yeah, you'll be fine. You're fine. Just give them the space and take your space. You'll be fine.
Yeah. And, and part of bringing love back to us, going back to your example with the internet, is to make a decision in advance. How am I going to show up in my relationships on social media? Am I going to be the kind of person who hits the unfriend block button, knee-jerk reaction? Because that's a lot of damage to undo.
Yes. Exactly.
It's a lot. I think we really need to rethink that.
Yeah. That's to go there without there having been some kind of way of some path of getting there. Like, that's where you go, boom.
Right.
That's a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot to come back from.
It is. I mean, now that's a dent in the relationship you might not be able to bang out.
Right.
So we have to be mindful.
Yeah. It might be a signal that, okay, this relationship just wasn't as important to the other person as it was to me, and now I have to be okay with that. Mm-hmm. I have to move on with that.
In the absence of communication.
Right. Well, the absence of the relationship, because without communication, there is no relationship.
No, there isn't.
It doesn't, it's funny, just switching gears here a little bit, but still talking about communication. Jasmine and I love to watch Wendy Williams. I don't know if you've heard of Wendy Williams. So we like to watch her talk show, and really the part that we like is the Ask Wendy, where the audience members ask her advice. And guaranteed, no matter what the craziest situation is, it always comes back to, well, have a conversation, communication. It always, so Jasmine now knows, she's like, basically every problem in life can be solved by communication. And I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
Boy, that's a funny example, and I can see Wendy, but it's so true. It's so true. And that's where, the absence of your words are either going to make something better, or not make it better. What's the consequences of the absence of your words? I think that's what we need to think about.
Yeah.
And there are times where I'd have been on the phone for, 9 hours a day, and I'd go home and go, I've used up all my words for the day. I love you, but I have no more words left to say.
Right.
Then everything's okay.
Yeah.
And I tend to err in relationships. I tend to err on the side of being quiet. So
Uh-huh.
I let people, I mean, when I would do internet dating, that was like one of the first things on my profile. I tend to be quiet. This way people, right, out of the gate, they know that if I'm quiet, it doesn't mean something's wrong.
Yeah. And that's so important. That right there lets the other person know that you are willing to communicate because you just shared something of yourself with them to let them
Right.
know, don't take this personally, don't misinterpret, this is just part of how I am. And it's a valid, like if you were to say that to me, if we were just getting to know each other and you would say that to me, I would be like so grateful and so respectful, of course, of what you said, but also be so grateful, like, okay, thank you for letting me know that. That
Right.
means, and in my mind, it's like, that means I'm important enough to her so that she knows that my feelings are not going to get hurt if she goes quiet because I know what's
Right.
going on. That means I'm
Right.
valued. That feels good.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And it takes so little. I mean, you could write a note if you're out of words. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many ways we can communicate. I mean, how many of us have had a situation where communication didn't go well, and then we either sent, or received flowers?
Oh,
It's
right?
communication. Yeah.
Yes. A gift is, yes, flowers or any kind of like little token gift, any gesture like that. Again,
Mhm.
even the words are not necessary
Right.
because that's a communication. Because sometimes we can't find the right words.
Boy, that's the truth.
Yeah. And that just lets the other person know, hey, you know what? You're important to me.
Yeah.
And
And
that's the most important thing.
that is. That is.
Because then you're willing to work to keep that communication going. It's worth the effort. It's when,
Right.
when it's not there that, oh, okay, or as
Yeah.
it shows up much later, like, wait, what?
Yes.
What? Then you weren't really
Right.
listening to me the first time around, were you?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. Especially when you think that you were heard and you find out they weren't even paying attention. Like, wait, what just happened? Yeah.
Oh gosh,
My
yeah.
goodness. Well, your communication is so important, even if it's not verbal, right? Just gestures and our silence can be communication.
Yeah, energetic. Our close
Mm,
relationships communicate energetically. I mean, all relationships communicate energetically, but many times we're not aware of it. So our close relationships would communicate energetically.
absolutely. And I witness that every day in my dogs. I mean,
Oh,
though I can
yes.
look at the way my dogs are behaving, and I'm like, oh, they're sensing my energy, and that's how we communicate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Exactly. So, big word there.
Yeah.
Communication. We might have to do a part two to this one because there's just so
Absolutely.
much there.
Yeah, because I would like to the next time we talk about communication, talk about the way that people process communication, because
Yeah.
it's a creative endeavor right there.
Yeah, that's biting off a lot.
Well, I'm out of words.
I know, me too. I think I need a nap now. Doesn't mean I don't love you. I just need a break.
I appreciate that. So next time it's going to be my favorite number, love sessions number 17.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
Thanks, Lil. This was fun.
this was fun. Thank you, Nori. Bye bye, everyone.